Hello everybody, my name is Eric Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out Kotobukiya's Bishoujo's lines, X-Men's Domino. This gorgeous, lovely, lucky merc is 1/7 scaled, and I gotta be honest here, like Kotobukiya and their scaling, I almost find it kind of a bit of a joke. They have so many figures that they're like, yeah, this is 1/7, this is 1/8. I just don't buy it. I feel like their scale is all over the place, so whoever's measuring these back at Kotobukiya, they're just, I don't know, maybe do a slightly better job? Now, I'm not going to complain about getting a figure that's too big or too small. Well, maybe too small. That would kind of suck. When there's a scale attached to a figure, there's usually a little tip or extra fee that you're paying because they have this little scale mark. So it's just, I would like that to be more accurate. With that aside, it's time to get into this figure. Wait, there's actually one thing I need to mention. So Domino is this awesome mutant from the X-Men. Her mutant powers are luck. She is just very lucky all the time. It's pretty cool. She's an amazing character. I'll get a little bit more into that near the end of the video. However, I have to mention that this figure came with this epic little Deadpool plush that you got to put on her stand. Now, I say it's epic. I personally didn't particularly like it, but I didn't dislike it. It's just, I've moved around so much in my life, and I've had so many things happen that, oh, Domino, you're supposed to be lucky. I lost it. I don't know where it is. I have no idea what happened to it. So I'm just going to show you a couple of product shots of it and talk about it really abruptly near the end of the video. But unfortunately, I've just had a lot of misfortune with this figure. Would that be coincidence or irony? Why not both? Starting with this base, it is freaking fantastic. I can't, I'm always going on about how much I love Koto bases, and this is no exception. This is a beautiful base. It's a Domino. It's nothing too fancy. It's not breaking the mold in creativity, but how come we haven't seen something like this millions of times before? I don't know, but this is great. It looks like the Domino. It's amazing. It's hollowed out, and you can see underneath that she's really bolted in there nicely. This is an awesome, awesome base. It's nice and thick, too. Like, it looks like a giant, chunky Domino. It's cool. I love it. It's an amazing base. So much so that this is part of the reason why I lost a little Deadpool, because when you put him on here, I don't know, I find it just doesn't fit. I didn't really care for it, and without it just seeing the whole Domino, I think it looks so beautiful. Going up into her boots, well, she has these cyberpunk light-up heels? I don't know what they are, but I do think it's pretty cool. It's futuristic, and the nice shade of blue matches up with blues that she has in other parts of her clothing. So it's nice. It's actually a nice touch. It does kind of look like something you'd see out of the X-Men. So I'm not going to fault it. It's a beautiful design. I think it's cool. And the whole boot here, it's a lot of glossy black on a glossy black on a glossy black, and that's something I'm usually not fond of. I prefer having more textures, but the boots themselves look good. I love the metal bars that are on the side here. This is just like, sure, comic book designers. And I say that's because she actually has this in the Western comics. This isn't just like a made-up costume or heavily modified by Kotobukiya and their Eastern anime visions. It's very accurate to one of the costumes she actually wears in the comics. So I like it. I think it's nice. There's a couple of other costumes I would have maybe preferred. You know what? No, I take that back. I actually think this is really beautiful, and it's got some great design aspects to it that I love, where it then goes up into the latex of her bodysuit. Now, this is kind of weird because you could almost make the argument that this latex suit she's wearing goes over the boots with how this is sculpted and painted. Either the paint was too thick or the sculpt was just not pronounced enough. I know when you look at the back of her leg, you can actually see where her boot kind of cuts in and ends when it goes into the metal piece, where the latex comes out afterwards. But due to the fact that they didn't add like a little texture or something to the latex body or the boot, it just seems like it's all one big chunk. Well, I think that maybe they should have carved the boot in a little more and made it ever so slightly more pronounced to feel like it pops a bit. Otherwise, what's the point? It's an anime rendition. It could have just all been one piece with the boots connected in a latex suit. It's a superhero. We don't need to go that much into the details of the hows or whys this clothing would realistically work. As we go up, we then get into these beautiful blue attachment pieces for her thighs, and they are awesome. I love the belt buckle that we have on here with the little connecting piece on the back. Even the buckle and how the blue piece kind of like folds into it, it's not really carved in enough. Again, I feel like maybe the paint was too thick, or it should have been a little more pronounced, kind of like a ballistic type of attachment. So that would kind of work. but it doesn't completely feel like that, especially with the use of the blue on top of it, so I don't know. It does look nice, and I do like the decoupage of it all. Afterwards, we go back into the latex of her body, where the front part looks nice. I mean, it's got some great fabric folds and stretches, and along the back, we get the same thing. Her behind is not as defined as something that would be completely body fit forming, but it does look a little realistic, which is odd considering a lot of their choices for other parts I have previously mentioned aren't that realistic. This is the House of Mouse era of Marvel figures, and I said it with a couple of my past ones that were from the House of Mouse, but they definitely have their 2 cents to say here and there. However, she is incredibly spicy and very well done. So it's not like she's been censored overboard to high heaven. She still looks really great, and I don't really mind the behind looking the way it does. It's nice. It just doesn't feel like classic comic book Domino, or I guess anime and manga to begin with. Afterwards, we get the awesome light blue body clipping ballistic-y gear all over her body. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I do like the design. I think it's really cool. I love all the belt clips everywhere. On the front, you have the one that really splays out. It almost creates like a type of little design that feels Spider-Man-y or something like that, like a webbing. In the back, we have multiple of these little clips and belts, and they are just so cool. I like them quite a bit. And speaking of that back, it is very beautiful on this figure. They put so much work onto this back. It is gorgeous. It actually has a really sharp coloring style. It's sculpted to be very strongly defined with her gorgeous albino white skin and soft blues to create the shading and the highlights, and the fact that this figure is put in somewhat of an awkward pose, but it really prioritizes showing off her back. It's very nice. We're in the front of her. We then get this pearlized, somewhat matte gray, very well sculpted across the stomach with the muscle and the line for the center of her body. All of this figure and the way that her costume is put on her is so well balanced. You get such a spicy edge, but it still puts a little bit of realism in there while still holding so much of the true comic book and even anime or manga aesthetic. They just did a really good job mashing up the 2 styles with this figure. It's fantastic. Attached to this baby blue ballistic awesomeness is her holsters. She's got a couple of them here, and I kind of have a bit to say about it. The ones on her hips look awesome. They're all closed up, which is weird considering she has the guns in her hands, so they should be opened. I would have liked to maybe see them go into a little more. When you get a good look at the inside of these holsters that are closed, it just looks like it's foam closed up or something like that, which I guess maybe if she wants to make sure her guns don't get all scratched up. I mean, they look like really fancy weaponry. It's just to say that I would have liked this to be either opened a little bit more or have a more pronounced cutout going down the center. I really enjoy the line work that's all around the holsters, really makes it feel like it's seam lines from being sewn together. We get a couple of paint mishaps on both sides where they end up putting these little silver buckles. Looking at her stomach or rib cage or chest holsters, these clearly look like they should have weapons in them, but they clearly look like they don't. From a distance, it looks really nice. You wouldn't know, it's fine. It's just that when you start peering at it from a lot closer, it seems as though the guns would be completely covered to the point where you get no handle, you get no nothing. How is she going to access this gun quickly? It would have been way nicer to have just a minor strap with pieces to the gun handle coming out afterwards, but they didn't do that. This does look comic booky and even like something you'd see out of a manga in an illustration, but this is a figure and they could have really put in that extra work. They should have. Rather than getting that little Deadpool plushie, I would have liked to see more on her. Getting into her arms, they're glossy, latexy, along with her shoulder pads. So the shoulder pads are the same gloss, latexy look as the rest of her costume, so she's just not popping. From a distance, the blue pops. It looks gorgeous. Her back sticks out so nicely, like it really comes through. It's beautiful. It's just that looking at it from up close, there's so many tiny little details that just get lost in the sea of monotony in this glossy latex, and I'm just kind of bored of it, but that's only from my perspective of looking at her from up close and reviewing her for you today. This figure is absolutely gorgeous on a shelf. She has these cute little silver armbands, and I can't thank them enough because they really help break some of the design and the overuse of that gloss, but so do those little bolts on her shoulder pads. I'm just gonna mention this because I've been going on about it consistently, but the fact that she has all this gloss, black, latex everywhere, my complaint isn't, oh, let's have less of it, because I understand that the focal point here is the white of her face, the white on her back, and the blue. It really sticks out and it really makes such an impact when you look at her. I just would have liked to see different textures. Keep it glossy. Just give me something that looks like a bit of a mesh or one of those new modern age superhero style costume textures that they put into things. It's just so this way everything doesn't always feel like it's the same. Her guns sure are ridiculous. I don't know what to say about them. I mean, they're silver, they've got the blue that she has in her costume, so, you know, like everything kind of matches up with what she's wearing. They're so hardcore comic booky from the 90s that I enjoy it. Her face has a seam line that connects it to the neck, but you're not gonna notice it whatsoever. It's hidden behind her hair perfectly. It's so nice. And her whole neck and connecting into her body looks really good too. She has a little choker collar that has sharp edges to it. Her face is so pretty. It looks so soft and so sharp and so round, but so determined and so strong. I blame a bit of that on the fact that she has blue lipstick. I think it's cute. But the way that the lipstick is drawn on her face is in a manner where it kind of gives her a bit of a pouty looking expression. Her eyes looking back and her eyebrows looking quite determined gives her really this serious, imposing vibe, along with her incredibly strong and imposing looking pose and body to go with it. We get to see her ear here, and her ear is like not super well done, which is funny because I've seen nicer ears on other Kotobukiya statues where they're actually covered up, so where we're actually seeing it for once, I feel like it should have been better. It's not horrible, and I love the fact that there's no seam lines around it, so everything's just soft and it goes right into the ear, which is just fantastic. The giant birthmark she has over her left eye is beautiful. It looks so nice. And her blue eyes going into a nice little darker gradient as they go up with their little eyelashes. It's cute. It's very pretty, very nicely done. Her hair, we have this massive seam line across the front, and it's less noticeable on the back, but on the front it's an eyesore, unfortunately. The flow of the hair is gorgeous. Considering she has such short hair, they did a very nice job at making it seem like it's got so much volume to it. We have the cute little rogue white strand coming along the front, which is beautiful as well. It is rather gray though. I think I would have liked it to be a bit whiter, but at the same time, I understand why they made it so gray, because this way her face will pop out more. And you really look at this face, it's such a focal point. She has beautiful highlights across the hair, which I think are pretty well done. I like it. I am just less into the fact that for Lady Luck, I'm just not lucky with her. When I wanted to do this review, I had set up all this stuff to take my photos, and then a massive gust of wind came through my window, which was open, and it went flying down, smashed into her head, and she went flying across the room. The lucky part being that she didn't break into tons of pieces, because she probably should have with how far she flew. The unlucky part being that I have this stupid nick on the top of her head. I'm so annoyed about this. I have a little photo box that I'm going to be putting all my figures in when I take pictures in the future, so I will never have this problem again. It's actually happened to me more than once. But I always caught my figure, or I managed to stop the piece in time. But not for Domino. The little Deadpool that she comes with is decently done. I find that the stitching that they put inside the eyes doesn't look that great. It's just white on white and you don't really notice any kind of texture. I mean, I probably would have used a different color here for that stitching so it felt more like this was an actual button sewn in there. The line work that we get to section off different parts of the figure does look pretty decent, and you know, it's still kind of a cute figure. It's just... From the back, we get that nice little X mark that we have where he would usually put his swords, and he's got his yellow belt. It is kind of creepy, a little bit weird, and I love creepy and weird, usually. But because Domino is so beautiful, I just would have preferred that they put the money that they put into making this little figure into her, or at least maybe they could have given him a little peg to put on the actual Domino somewhere, so this way, truly lost to me. I'll never see its like again. I will remember you. Upon her release, she was, wait for it, 9,800 yen. Like, what? That's dirt cheap. This figure and all the little flaws that I had mentioned about her from A to B, don't matter. She's so worth that price. It's crazy. This figure is fantastic. I can't believe it. At that price point, I should have bought 2 of them. What was I thinking? I would have had one for when I busted her up and I lost that Deadpool. I could have had multiple Deadpools. I don't like the Deadpool. Not to say I don't like Deadpool as a character, I just don't care about the plush. They could have put more on her if they didn't make him. Really makes me think of another figure that's already pretty awesome, but that needed to coast off of someone else's popularity. For what, like 5 extra sales? She's got Wolverine gloves! She comes with Deadpool! I'm buying Rogue and Domino. I'm not buying Wolverine and Deadpool. I'll get a Wolverine and Deadpool if I want a Wolverine and a Deadpool. Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, Deadpool. Her pose is beautiful, but I gotta say that it's kind of a bit of a point of contention for me at the same time. Front of her body looks gorgeous. I love everything that's going on here. I like the gray, I like the whole design, the curves, everything looks so nice. But you lose her face because of her hair and her aggressive looking to the left. The back is incredible. They put so much work in. Again, the pose really accentuates her back as much as it accentuates the front of her. This is really an impressive figure, but because of the placement of the head once more, it doesn't fit super well when you look at her from the back. So they expect you to look at her from the side. Or an angle, maybe? Because of how centralized her pose is and how small this base is, while still being quite impressive. She takes up like no room. You can fit her in every like little nook and cranny between all sorts of different figures. It's awesome. But I do have trouble every now and then finding a good way to position her that works to embellish her pose that she's taking. All these contorted, twisting, looking to the back figures can be quite annoying for stuff like this. And the real annoyance is just the fact that they did such a great job on all the angles of the figure. So you're like, oh, I don't know what angle to show her off at. Are these first world problems? Honestly, I don't know. I've been living through so many horrible world problems in my life that sometimes I'm like, my goodness, is this a thing? Am I too happy with all the different angles that she can take? Domino is one of my favorite mercs of all time. I think she's amazing. I love her design. She's really cool. There isn't that much albino representation in the world, and the few that are albino characters like her seem to get, you know, like race swap treatments in a lot of movies and in a lot of media. For fun, write down in the comment section below all the albino characters you know. I mean, if you want to mention Shriek, if you want to mention Domino, if you want to mention Death from the Sandman. The fact is you can be anything from a human to an animal. It doesn't matter the color, and you can be born as a albino. So why is this such a point of contention? It's not like albino means Caucasian. It doesn't. So if anything, it just makes more sense to hire any ethnicity that you think could play the part best, and then afterwards you just give them the same treatment you gave Gamora or Nebula. The proper makeup, and bam! Now you're respecting the fan base, the source material, and an incredibly small minority that would be happy, I'm sure, to see themselves get some great representation. The whole point that she's born an albino coincides with her being so lucky. What are the odds you'd be born without any color skin pigmentation whatsoever? Lady luck. So in 2019, when they released this figure, I was ecstatic. She looks absolutely beautiful, and having a bit of albino representation is better than nothing, I suppose. I guess at the end of the day, their voice is just not strong enough because there's so few of them on the planet. Well, I think you're beautiful, and a lot of your characters that exist in the comic book world are awesome. So, with that aside, hopefully this video helped you decide which side of the fence you are on if you want to get Domino. I'm pretty sure that being an older Koto figure and looking this gorgeous, she might be going for a pretty penny right about now. Not the cheapest figure in the bin. So if you're about to drop a huge wad of cash on her, I don't know. I'd say watch a couple of other videos, maybe check out my figure collection page and see more pictures. Really know what you're getting before you pull the trigger. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to slice that like button, collect that subscribe, and ping that notification bell. It goes a crazy long way at helping support my channel, and I love and appreciate you for supporting my channel. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye. Domino. 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 Domino, no, 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 domino, 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 domino.